Good morning, everybody. A good Erev Shabbos, Parshas Achrei Kedoshim. Double Parshah once again this week. And a loaded one. Tremendous amount of essential, very, very essential, very, very important rules and guidelines of the Torah. This is how it works. This is what things are. We start off in the first Aliyah, Parshas Achrei, with the service of Yom Kippur. The entire program that happened on Yom Kippur that was performed by the Kohen Gadol in the Beis HaMikdash is described. The Kohen Gadol, the leading Kohen, would only enter into the Holy of Holies, the Kedoshim, wearing special plain linen garments. And he was required to change those garments 5 times. He immersed himself in the mikveh each time, 5 times. Yes, there was a mikveh on site. And it was open. The selection of the he-goats, the male goats, for the primary teshuvah process that they had in the Beis HaMikdash on Yom Kippur is described at length in the beginning of Parshas Achrei, in the first Aliyah. And this portion of the Torah is what makes up the Avoda. That's the lengthy musaf that we say on Yom Kippur, and they used to actually perform in the Beis HaMikdash and Mitzvah Hashem soon. In the second Aliyah, we're following the whole description of the remaining services of Yom Kippur. The Torah discusses the prohibition of offering a carbon outside of the Mishkan, outside the Beis HaMikdash. There are parameters to things. It's not just serve God as you please. There's a place for things. There's a way to do things. And in the third Aliyah, heading towards the end of Achrei, is devoted to a presentation of the 15 prohibited, or I should say 15 of the prohibited sexual relationships. There's no doubt that Hashem considers physical intimacy between a male and female, a husband and a wife, as singularly important, and therefore it's essential that there be a framework of controls for satisfying this physical without transgressing the boundaries. In the fourth Aliyah, we wrap up Parshas Achrei and wrap up the Arayot, the Arayis, the prohibited relationships as well. Homosexuality, bestiality are prohibited, and we finish up the lists. And as it clearly states that the unique relationship between the inhabitants of Eretz Yisrael, us Jews in our homeland, have a direct relationship to this. As the Pasuk tells us as well, V'nichresu nefashos ha'osos mikarav amam. There are certain things that a person is cut off, that has no place in Yiddishkeit, and one who does that is cut off spiritually and even socially from being a part of the Jewish nation who professes their true belief in Hashem. The beginning of Parshas Kedoshim discusses the holiness that is realized through keeping Shabbos, being in awe of one's parents, not worshiping idols. The laws of charity, honesty, and paying wages on time are all found over there in the fourth Aliyah towards the beginning of Parshas Kedoshim Tiyu. Be a holy people, be a special people. In the fifth Aliyah, we discuss showing deference, not showing any deference while administering justice, as well as a responsibility to reprimand each other in a positive fashion. The prohibitions against wearing shatnez, any mixture of wool and linen in our clothing, cutting our sideburns that we know as our payas, not to have a tattoo. A Jew does not have a tattoo. We don't get involved in the occult, in black magic, fake Kabbalah, and these other silly things that could be silly because they could sometimes actually be black magic, are stated. Gossip and slander, Lashon Hara, is again mentioned that it's not allowed. Do not stand by idly while your fellow person's life is in danger. Lo samar al dam rayecha, very relevant these days. Not to be careful not to endanger someone else's life by not taking the proper precautions, not to pass around any illnesses. Even if it's just causing danger to one's property or one's limb, even if it's not life, we have a responsibility to protect our fellow human beings, Jews and non-Jews. Do not hate your fellow Jew in your heart, and have sensitivity, and be careful not to embarrass them as much as possible. Don't be vengeful. Osikom ve'ahavta l're'echa kamocha, and more are found in this aliyah. In the 6th and 7th aliyah, we have a discussion of the proper and equal treatment for the ger, for the convert, honesty in business, the prohibition against worshipping the Molech, which was a rather insane idol worship where one would sacrifice their own children, perhaps also referring to not sacrificing our children to the idols of the pursuit of the gashmias, of worldly pursuits, but rather making sure that we bring them up with an appreciation and a respect for godliness as well. And the remainder of Parshas Kedoshim, Parshas Achrei, Kedoshim, talks about once again the specific punishments that the Beit Din would administer for engaging in any of the 15 sexual relationships that are prohibited at the end of Parshas Achrei. At the very, very end, the last in the Parak 20, 22 to 26, it explains the concept of holiness, reiterating the importance of conducting our lives within certain parameters, of being those Kedoshim, and staying within the parameters of what it means to be separate from the other nations, what makes us different and separate. And as we read the Parashah, where do we see some things to think about? Where do we see that Judaism is not just a bunch of rules and laws, but it's a way of living, it's a way of life? The answer, v'chai bahem, it says, live by them. Don't just observe it, live it, make it part of you. That's what it is. That's what makes Kedusha. That's what makes Kedoshim to you into something special, something to think about. Give it some thought over this Shabbos. That's what makes a Jew and sets us apart as a special people. All humans are humans. All humans are people. Everybody, Jew and non-Jew. But what's different about a Jew is only in respect of the Kedusha, of the spirituality we add to it. We don't have the Beis HaMikdash, and now not even a Shul to daven in. How is that an opportunity to be Kadosh? Tune in later for two fascinating stories that perhaps can shed some light on this. Have a wonderful day.